Alrighty guys, what is going on? It is JT Gridiron here for a football video today, and I guess this is going to be my first video on my channel. So I guess to get things started, I'm a huge Saints fan. I've been a Saints fan for a long time now, pretty much my whole life, and it's been unfortunate to be a Saints fan as we've struggled in the playoffs, but I'm also a huge NFL fan, obviously. I also like the NBA, pretty much all sports really. And today I just want to start my first video on this channel, which is going to be kind of like a football talk channel, with a 2020 New Orleans Saints prediction video. So let's get right into it. So starting things out, the Saints play the Bucs week 1 in New Orleans. I think that the Saints are going to win this one 27-24, around that range. I think that the Bucs are obviously going to be much more improved this year defensively and especially offensively. I just think my Saints are better, I'm not going to lie. This is the type of game the Saints would lose. It's opening day. There's a good team. The Saints, unfortunately, I love them, but they choke a lot, and this is a very losable game for them. But I think it's also a winnable game. I think that the Bucs are good, but at home, I know there's not going to be any fans there, but I'll take my Saints. I think they're the better team, and I think they should win this NFC South division. So they start the season out 1-0. In week 2, the Saints go on the road to the Raiders to play them in Las Vegas. Raiders, I think, are going to be better next year, but, they're the Raiders. They're not a team that's really anything special, in my opinion. I think the Saints go to Las Vegas and kind of roll over them 34-16, start the season out 2-0. They could put up a decent fight, but I just don't really see the Saints losing this one unless it's in some extreme upset, but I'll take my Saints. After that, the Saints, I think, will take their first loss in week 3 next year versus Green Bay at home. In reality, I think that the Saints are a better, at least more talented team and roster compared to Green Bay, but the Saints, they just lose some games where it's like, how did you lose that? Like last year, look at the Atlanta game at home. They lost like 26-9. That was embarrassing. I think this is another one of those games, except the Packers are much better than the Falcons. The Packers are a decent team. I just think that this is a game where maybe Drew Brees and the offense are slow, don't have a great day, and the defense plays meh, and I just think this is kind of like an upset loss at home versus Green Bay. It's a winnable game in my opinion, but I just think that, the Saints are going to have to lose some. They're not going to go 16-0, and I think this is a game that is losable and would make sense to lose to a veteran QB like Aaron Rodgers. So I think they lose 21-23 and start the season out 2-1. After week 3 and week 4, the Saints go on the road to Detroit. To me, Detroit's not a terrible team, but it's not a team that's really going to be able to contend with some teams like New Orleans, like San Francisco in the NFC. So I think the Saints roll over them 41-20. This is, I guess, another type of game where it could be one of those like upset watch games, but to me, the Lions just aren't anywhere near contending. So give me the Saints 41-20. They start out 3-1. In week 5, the Saints stay at home again for a game versus the Chargers. To me, I think the Chargers are really going to be bad next year. A couple years ago, they did go to the playoffs, went like 12-4 in 2018. Last year, Philip Rivers struggled, and the offense struggled, and the defense was still pretty solid, but they just were not a very good football team. And I think that this 2020 season is going to be more of the same for them. The QB situation is different. Who knows how Tyrod Taylor's going to do? Who knows how the rookie's going to do there? They could have some good games, could have some nice games, who knows? But ultimately, in New Orleans, I think the Saints will steamroll them. I think they win 30-10, and the Saints start 4-1. In week 6, the Saints have a bye, so moving on to week 7, they take on the Panthers at home. Obviously, this will be the return of Teddy Bridgewater and a few other Saints, like Keith Kirkwood. He also signed with the Panthers, I believe. But to me, the Panthers are the worst team in the NFC South at the moment, and they're not bad. They'll put up a fight, but I don't know. I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot, but I just don't see him coming into New Orleans and just tearing up that defense. The Saints' defense is really good. They've been good. And at home, I think the Saints are going to blow the Panthers out of the water with a 38-14 win. The Saints start 5-1. At the midseason point, the Saints go to Chicago again like they did last year, and again, I think they're going to win. I think the Bears next year are going to be pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. I just don't really see a lot of talent on this team. Obviously a couple years ago, they were also a playoff team like the Chargers, but they've just declined, and really the big problem there to me is the offense. I think the defense is solid, but I think, like last year, the Saints didn't really have a big issue with the Bears defense. And, unless the Bears defense goes on another, 2018 historic run, this Chicago team to me is not scary at all. And, there's a whole QB situation. How's that going to go? So give me the Saints 33-13, a blowout. They start the season 6-1 at the halfway point. In week 9, the Saints go on the road to play Tampa Bay again. And, you might doubt me for saying this, but I think the Saints sweep the Bucs. To me, I think both of the Bucs games are losable, but both of them are winnable. And really, I just think the Saints are the better team. This is going to be a tough game, but it's going to be fun. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I think the Saints win 24-20, and they start out 7-1. Moving on to week 10, we have another difficult game, which is at home versus San Francisco. The Saints lost last year to San Francisco in just the most stupid, Saints just choke way ever. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Marcus Williams, what were you doing? But they really should have won that game. If the defense just, the players on defense had brains, I think the Saints would have won that game. But they lost, and that's what happened. And San Francisco's a good team. They went to the Super Bowl last year. I do not think they're going to be as good as they were last year. I think they're kind of like a Rams team where it's like they had one really good year, they peaked, and then they just kind of decline. That's what I think San Francisco's going to do, because I like Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't know. I just see some parallels between him and Jared Goff where they don't necessarily have the same play style. I think Garoppolo's better, but it's like they're not, to me, QBs that really just make their team special. The team around them makes them special. Garoppolo's good, but he's in a great system, and to me, he's not the guy who's going to really clutch up in all situations. He's going to make some clutch moments like he did versus New Orleans, But at the same time, the reason they won that game is because the Saints defense they don't have brains over there, apparently. So I love my Saints, but either way, I'm not a big believer in Jimmy Garoppolo, so I get the Saints 35-30 and a clutch win, and they start the season out 8-1. After that, in Week 11, the Saints take on the Falcons for the first time of the season, and I think they win 31-17. It's at home. The Falcons are decent, but they've struggled the past couple years. I mean, they had, the Super Bowl season 2016, 2017, they made the playoffs, and then 2018 and 2019, they were supposed to be good, but they had injuries, and they just ended up not going anywhere. So I think we're going to see more of the same next year. I think the Saints win the first match versus the Falcons. Following the Falcons game in Week 12, the Saints take on the Broncos in Denver, and to me, this is kind of one of those upset games where it just comes out of nowhere, and I think this is one of those games, and they lose 20-23 to the Broncos and drop to 9-2. I think the Broncos are going to be decent next year, and mainly that's just because of their offense. I think that Drew Lock's a good QB, and I think that with Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, and Philip Lindsay, they actually have a decent offense. I think the Saints easily can win this game, but to me, this is like the perfect upset game. It's in cold weather. The Saints are used to the indoor dome. It's against a decent team on the road. It's an AFC team, not a team they see often. So to me, this is the perfect upset game for the Saints to lose, and I'm just going to say they drop one here at Denver. And following the Denver game, I think they go to Atlanta and receive another loss from the Falcons. The Saints every year, they usually do really good against their division, but there's always one team or two teams or another team that they lose to. They usually split with another team in the division. Like last year, they lost to the Falcons once, beat them once. I think it's going to happen again this year in Atlanta. I think the Saints lose. So I think they'll split with Atlanta. I think just some of these division losses are kind of inevitable. They're going to happen. So they lose 21-28 to the Falcons and drop to 9-3. After the Falcons game, I think the Saints get back on the win column with a 29-20 win at Philly. Philly's good, but they always seem like so. What's the word? They feel kind of dysfunctional. They just feel like they feel wrong. They have the talent, they have the roster, and they went to that 2017 Super Bowl and won, beat the Patriots, but they just can never put it together. They always feel like they're so close but so far away with the Eagles. Last year they made the playoffs. They have a really good team. They barely made it at 9-7, in an NFC East division that was terrible, and then they lost. Carson Wentz got injured again. Everything seems to go wrong for Philly, like at the worst time. And I think it's, they're just going to be good next year, but not good enough. And they're not going to be good enough to beat the Saints. So I think the Saints go into Philly and win 29-20. They go to 10-3 on the season. After the Eagles game, I think the Saints take a heartbreaking loss versus the Chiefs at home. To me, this is going to be like another one of those like 49ers Saints games last year, or like Broncos Saints games from 2016, where the Saints are so close from victory again, but they choke and lose to the Chiefs. This is the perfect Saints loss to me. I don't know. I can already see it. I can already see the choke loss here. There's going to be some stupid last second game-winning touchdown Patrick Mahomes going to throw. I know I'm negative about this team sometimes, but I'm telling you, the Saints just find a way to lose games, and I think this is a game that they should win. The Chiefs are good. They're the Super Bowl champs, but I always take my Saints against anybody, but they got to take some losses, and to me, this game at home versus the Chiefs is going to be just like the game last year versus the Niners at home, where the Saints choke to the better contender, and, I really hate to say that, but it's just normal for me to say it, because the Saints choke so much, so I think they lose 33-35 at home versus the Chiefs. It'll be a good game. I hope they win this one. I really do. They easily can win it, but it's also just going to be one of their toughest games of the year. So I think they lose that and drop to 10-4 on the season. After the loss to the Chiefs, though, in Week 16, I think the Saints rebound with a win over Minnesota. To me, this is another game they could lose. They just keep losing to the Vikings in the playoffs, so it wouldn't surprise me. But, I think the Vikings still are just nowhere near as good of the team as the Saints. The Saints just choke. It's just in their culture, it's in their blood. But the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, they're not a bad team, but to me, there's still no reason in my mind that I should think that the Saints should lose to this team. The Saints are pretty much better on every facet. So they really should win this game, and it's not in the playoffs, so they really should win it. I think the Saints win 31-19 and go to 11-4 on the season. And for the final game of the year on Week 17, the Saints go to Carolina to play the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to give them a much better fight this time around. With Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think this game is really going to be that important for them, but it's still going to be an interesting game to watch anyway, and I think the Saints are going to win 26-20. This is a game they could lose, could be an upset game, depending on really probably how Teddy Bridgewater plays, but I'll take my Saints any day over the Panthers. So, Saints finish the season 12-4. Anyways, now looking at kind of an overview of my prediction, the Saints are going to go 5-1 against their division opponents, 2-2 versus the AFC, and 10-2 versus the NFC. I think to me that the ceiling of this Saints team is 13-3. They've gone 13-3 2 years in a row, and I don't see why they can't do it again. To me, the floor is 10-6. There's some games in there that I think they could lose, but to me, they're a 10-win team. They just have the talent, they have the roster. Maybe 9-7 is possible if they really get screwed over in a game with some bad luck, but I think 10-6 is a realistic floor. They have some good games versus KC, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Minnesota, you could say, some of the other division games like Atlanta. Those are some big games for them. I think that they win the NFC South and go 12-4. To me, the Bucs are in contention for that South title, maybe the Falcons. To me, the Panthers, honestly, I could see either of these teams, either team in the NFC South, going 8-8. I could realistically see the Panthers going 8-8. And what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that each team in the NFC South is relatively formidable. None of these teams are really teams that I think that I'm confident saying are going to go 4-12 and suck. I think the Panthers could win 7 games and they could still come fourth. There's a lot of good teams in this NFC South, but I think the Saints will take the South. To me, their offensive player of the year is going to be Alvin Kamara. Last year, he was playing on a torn MCL, so when he's healthy, I think he's really going to be the star of this offense again like he was in 2018 and 2017. So I would expect to see Alvin Kamara get a lot more touchdowns, more yards, really be a big player for the Saints team. Defensive player of the year is simple. It's got to be Cam Jordan. Every year he's just probably the best player on the Saints defense. He just does it all. Gets sacks, bats down passes, makes tackles, stops the run. He does it all, and he's the best player on the Saints defense. After that, though, Rookie of the Year, I think it's going to be Cesar Ruiz. I think the Saints O-line and protecting Drew Brees is going to be a big part of how this team functions next year, and I think Cesar Ruiz is obviously going to be a big part of that. So I would expect him to be Rookie of the Year. Zach Bond could also be in contention for that title, though. To me, the X factor's got to be QB play. Drew Brees has been consistently excellent the past 15 years, but maybe this is the year he just declines and ends up like Peyton Manning. To me, Tom Brady's kind of in that stage already where he's just not the same player. Drew Brees played pretty well last year. I'm not gonna lie. But will he play well again this year? And also, again, QB play doesn't just mean Drew Brees. It means, what if we see Jameis Winston take some snaps? How is he going to do? What about Taysom Hill? And also, the biggest X factor for the Saints in the playoffs has got to be QB play as well. You look at the last 3 years, their playoff losses have been tough for the Saints, but the O-line and Drew Brees really haven't played that well. Drew Brees didn't have an excellent game versus the Vikings last year, neither versus the Rams or the Vikings the year before. They threw 2 picks in the first half versus the Vikings in 2017. They were down 17-0 at half. I know they really should have won that game, but you shouldn't have to rely on one play to win a game. They should have beat the Vikings completely in 2017. And Drew Brees has thrown some picks. He's thrown a couple touchdowns. He just hasn't been that great in the playoffs recently. And to me, he's just the big X factor here. He's got to play better. The O-line's got to play better. The offense has got to play better because the defenses have played relatively fine besides last year to me. In 2017, 2018, those playoff exits, the defense played fine in both of those games. The offense kind of screwed them over at times. And in last year, 2019, the defense didn't really play that well. But ultimately, they just got to win. That's the big thing. They got to win in the playoffs. And to me, the big X factor of that is QB play and how Drew Brees plays. Can they win the Super Bowl this year? Of course. I really think they can. I think they can beat anybody. I'm not going to lie. Saints are one of those few teams out there that I think can beat anybody, like the Chiefs, On any given Sunday, they can win, But then again, they could lose and choke because that's what the Saints have been doing. I think this year though, they're going to have a great year. As far as playoff predictions go, like I said, floor, they could be another first-round exit, really. And that's the sad thing. This is a really good team, and they could have another first-round exit as a floor, but their ceiling is Super Bowl champs, and that's just the Saints, Maybe fourth year is the charm. Fourth time's the charm of the playoffs here. We'll have to see. But I hope my Saints do well. And that's all I've got for you guys today. So thanks for watching. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you all next time on JT Gridiron.